During our time at Pathways to STEM, Captain Thomas of the Envisioneer assembled a crew of the finest sailors to go to an uninhabited island in Indonesia.
We were in search of a well-hidden historic treasure. We were guided by an ancient treasure map. The journey was very rough and many of the crew suffered injuries.
Island, we discovered that a piece from the ancient treasure map was missing. It was left to us to figure out who had stolen the piece from the ancient treasure map.
During our investigation, Dr. Smart examined the crew and realized that many had sprained or fractured limbs.
The surplus of splints and slings were used to treat the injured. We learned how to make a sugar tongue splint, a figure-8 ankle splint, a SIM splint, and a cervical collar.
During this time, it was concluded that Chief Stewart had a collapsed lung. We made model lungs to see what happens when we breathe and to see what a collapsed lung looks like. No.
After the shipwreck, a head count was done to ensure all Envisioneers were accounted for. It was discovered some of the crew had gone missing. We learned that 2 crew members, Shipwright Neff and First Mate Sidney Young, were missing on a part of the island that only our robots could go to. We programmed our robots to follow a specific series of steps to retrieve the missing crew members.
While on the island, there was a bad storm and flooding that had occurred on other parts of the island. It was up to us to build a bridge that could support an MBOT.
While rebuilding the crew's living quarters and exploring the island, one of the deckhands started experiencing fatigue and was unable to work. Dr. Smart concluded that the deckhand was experiencing symptoms related to the cardiovascular system.
To learn more about the heart, we dissected calf hearts and we learned all the parts of the heart. And we also learned how the heart pumps blood through the body.
While Neff and Young were being escorted back to the ship by the robots, Young was bit by a snake. We were able to find out that Young was bit by a Malayan pit viper snake, which is a hemotoxic snake and affects the blood of the body.
Evidence at a crime scene includes blood spatter. To replicate the blood splatter, we dropped fake blood from different heights to determine how far up the blood at the crime could have dropped.
The fake blood was dropped from 12 inches, 30 inches, and 66 inches. After comparing our blood drops to the blood spatter at the crime scene, we concluded that the spatter came from 30 inches.
We also found a strange white powder that had to be analyzed. We tested the different characteristics between the mystery powder and the other white powders that we had on the ship, and concluded that the mystery powder was cornstarch.
Fingerprints were also found on an overturned cup left at the crime scene. We dusted for fingerprints using cocoa powder. We had the fingerprints of all the crew, and we discovered that the fingerprints left behind belonged to Dr. Smart.
Based on all the evidence our STEM group has submitted, we believe that Dr. Smart and Shipwright Neff are guilty of stealing the ancient map. Thank you.
Dancing dinos, how do you feel?
We feel great. Oh, we feel so great. Stand up, shout out. That's what we're all about. We're the dancing dinos. Let's hear it. Let's dance the dino spirit. Roar! Roar! Roar!
All right, everybody wave goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.